Welcome to One AA Member, One Home Group, One Vote. And I guess the key question is that the suggestion that AA has for members? And we know the reason for this being perhaps a hot topic is that some members have two home groups, more than two home groups. I met a member recently who said they had over five. And look, we're not here to police each other. We don't want to be the actor running the show, do we? Those of us who have gone beyond step 3, we read that section of the big book just before we take the step 3 prayer. So we have to let control go. And therefore, most of AA's suggestions are literally that in the literature. They're never mandates, they're suggestions. But I think if you're like me and you're a member of AA who wishes to honour that membership in the fellowship by at least trying out what is suggested in our literature, approved by conference, then finding the right spot to read and reflecting on it, praying about it, asking God for guidance, it's never served me wrong. So with the spirit of educational discovery in mind, let's get cracking. In the AA Australia 2023 conference this year, for me, as I'm making this video, there was a topic. And perhaps it was some other members' reaction to the idea of people having more than one home group in AA. Now, the topic could not read clearer. One group - one vote is the fundamental principle of Alcoholics Anonymous. This needs to be stated clearly in the AA group handbook. By the way, what a great, well-written example of a topic. No ifs, no buts or maybes. We know exactly why you're writing it and what you're asking conference to consider. I don't know who wrote this, but well done. Now, conference's response after discussion and voting was equally clear. So it's a really good example of both a well-written topic and a clear response. Conference said this topic was rejected as the issue is covered adequately on page 15 of the AA Group Handbook. In other words, AA is already there. What we have is clear enough. Well, why don't we just go to page 15 of the AA Group Handbook to see what AA itself suggests to members and the strength of that suggestion. Here we go. This is what it reads. Traditionally, most AA members through the years have found it valuable to belong to one group which they call their home group. That is the strength of the suggestion. No, we don't police ourselves. This is not federal, state or local government legislation. It's not a bylaw. Traditionally, in other words, over 88 years of AA's history, that's how long AA's been around in the States at least, most AA members through those years have found it valuable. Perhaps spiritually, perhaps to their recovery, perhaps to their feeling of belonging to the fellowship, who knows, but valuable to belong to one group, which they call their home group. So there's the first one. It continues, this is the group where they attend regularly, accept service responsibilities and sustain friendships. So attendance, service, human connection. And although all AA members are welcome at all groups and feel at home at any of these meetings, cross fingers, the concept of the home group, in other words, the idea of the home group has still remained, how strong? The strongest bond between the AA member and the fellowship. In other words, those of us who have one home group and who participate actively in that home group connect well and truly to the fellowship at large through that group connection. For me, it was where I picked up the traditions and the concepts and learnt to be that 3-legacy solid AA citizen through the lens of the single group. It continues, with membership of a group comes the right to vote at the group conscience meeting on issues that might affect the group and might also affect AA as a whole, a process that forms the very cornerstone of AA's service structure. So here we hit what we know to be true about how AA has structured itself globally. It is based on the pure principles of democracy. For more information, read some of the early AA concept essays that you can find in our service manual or the US Canadian one, the AA World Services manual. What those essays say is we are based at AA on the fundamental principles of democracy. Now, as we know, democracy is always based on voting, and voting is based on one person, one vote. So this is where the idea of one person, one vote comes from. And this is why, for example, in a federal or state election in Australia, they'll ask, have you already voted today in the election? Because you can't vote twice, nor can you vote in two places once. And so because AA is based on this fundamental idea of fairness and unity and equality, so this flows through to the idea of a better connection to AA's service structure, a better connection to AA as a whole when we only have one vote at one group. It continues, as with all group conscience matters, each AA member has how many votes? One vote. And this is voiced through his or her home group. So that is the connection out to group to fellowship. All right, one area, one district, if you're lucky enough to have one central service office, one representative from one group, groups vote, they all have one vote, and that person then connects out to the rest of AA Australia or to the central service office. It's all about ones. Okay, so there you have it. This is the clearly expressed section of the page 15 group handbook, which leaves me in no doubt that if I wish to humbly follow AA's suggestions, stick to one, and I may be doing AA as a whole a favour, not just my group and not just myself. Have a happy, sober day. Cheers.